Everything's fine here on Detention Block AA23, a Star Wars podcast. I'm Michael Mudge, flying Han Solo today, as the others weren't able to make it. So just me recording. As a reminder, we are live. So bring us your questions, bring us your comments, thoughts, all the above. Just watched, the newest Mandalorian episode. So chapter 21, The Pirate, and then also just finished watching the last two episodes of Bad Batch for season 2. Just want to throw this out there. There will be spoilers on this, on definitely The Mandalorian. I might dive into Bad Batch a little bit, but there will definitely be spoilers for The Mandalorian chapter 21. So if you haven't watched it, put us on pause here, go quickly watch it, come back, and then bring us your thoughts and opinions. But since I'm flying solo today, I don't need my headset. So I'm like, well, I'm just going to rock one of my helmets today. And why not rock Trapper Wolf, since, you know, he's in The Mandalorian, portrayed by none other than Dave Filoni. And, well, actually, we get some more X-Wing pilots in this episode, some more Rebel pilots, and there is an awesome cameo in this one I am super stoked about. And hopefully it's a sign of things to come, but I think that's part of the expectation, and we'll get to that. But man, quite the different emotions going. Bad Batch. So I watched those last two episodes first, and then when I finished, jumped over and watched The Mandalorian. And oh my gosh, I might need a little time to recover from Bad Batch. It's amazing how great that show got in the last half of the season. I know it was kind of maybe slow moving, a lot of plot building episodes that some might not find as necessary, but it can sure pack a punch when it wants to. And oh my gosh, it's a punch to the gut right now. And I don't know what to do. I'm going to have some recovery time on that. I won't specifically say what happened, but I'm hoping, but I don't know. I think it's very doubtful that things didn't happen as they seem. I think Dave Filoni has a way of doing this to us in terms of making us feel really sad, and I think this is one of those times, and I think that's what it is. I think what we got really did happen, and I think we're just going to have to live with that. And it's happened to many characters that we know. So yeah, I don't want to get into that right now. We're just going to move on. We're going to do happy thoughts right now. I do want to just cover one little news bit. It's not really a news bit. It's more of a reminder before jumping into The Mandalorian. But that reminder is Star Wars Celebration is happening soon. It's on the 7th. So that's like a week away. It's next weekend, I want to say. Yeah, starts next weekend. Man, that got here really quick, didn't it? So shout out to all the people going to London, going to enjoy Star Wars Celebration in the great country of England. Very jealous I'm not able to attend next year. I'm going to have a little one, so we'll see if that's in the cards. But the goal is to get all four of us. So Greg, Dustin, Zach, myself, to wherever the location is. So I'll be very eagerly awaiting the announcement of where the next celebration will be. I know some people that are going, so I might try and get some insight, because a lot of times there's rumors that are going around where the next location is going to be. So hopefully find that out and maybe start planning for 2024 Star Wars Celebration. It was such a great time last year, and both Colleen and I had a great time, probably more so me than her, but she enjoyed being a part of one of my passions, which is Star Wars. And she actually loves like dressing up and stuff, like cosplay type stuff. So, and she did it. She cosplayed as Rey. What else? She had the Slave Leia outfit. And then what was the third one? I'm spacing on it. She had a Darth Vader outfit as well. not really a legit Darth Vader. It was more of like a skirt and like a top portion of Darth Vader. But I went as a Jedi for 2 of the days, and then did I dress up as a rebel pilot? Yes, I want to say I did. It was only a year ago, and I can't remember that. So many things going on in my life right now. We've been getting the nursery already, so the crib and dresser and changing table all just arrived today. We painted not too long ago the nursery, getting everything set, nesting. So a lot going on in my mind. So apologies if I can't remember or recall everything to the T. That's why I've got notes, and we are going to go over these notes in the breakdown. But again, we're live. So as I'm walking through some of this stuff, if there's something you want to call out, if there's something you want to ask about or want further details on, or hey, maybe you have a prediction or an opinion that you want to provide, just send it in the chat. I've got the chat right here, watching it. I'll call you out. Come be part of the show just as much as I am at the moment. So, all right. So let's talk Mandalorian season 3, chapter 21, The Pirate, and very much a pirate episode it was. I will say, because I know Skeleton Crew is supposed to be part of, pirates are going to play a major role in that. And I guess this pirate clan or group or whatever you want to call it will be a part of it. So I'm curious how that all overlaps. I'm curious how maybe some of these characters from this show are in there. I'm not really entirely sure on what the timeline is or, where that show is compared to this one, but we will find out. What we do know, or what we think we know, is that pirates will play a part. So, all right. So for this chapter, the episode starts out and we're on Navarro. So High Magistrate Grief Karga, he's looking over some maps, talking with some of his council people. And then all of a sudden they get the warning and they see that a pirate cruiser arrives within their system. So in these moments, he is then hailed by that cruiser ship, which Gorian Shard, which if we remember from, is it the first chapter? Well, chapter 17 of season 3. That's from that episode. So Gorian Shard, he answers the hail, and Gorian threatens to attack Navarro. And this is all due to Karga and the city shooting down his crew. So in that chapter 17, if we remember, the crew were trying to go into what is now a school, but at that point was a bar, or when the pirates were here before, it was a bar, and they wanted to go drink in the bar, but Grief is like, no, sorry, it's no longer a bar, it's a school. Long story short, Din and Karga, they ended up shooting them all down except for the main guy of that squad. So this is kind of in retaliation to that. And Shard's cruiser starts attacking the city. So you see the gun turrets start firing down onto the city, causing a lot of destruction, killing innocent people. Things weren't looking good. I'm kind of surprised that there was no sort of defense force in Navarro. I know they've been reconstructing a lot and being prospering very well, but you would think they would have some kind of defense force, or even like anti-aircraft gun turrets, maybe some starfighters in the area, something. I mean, I know they might be out further, but you got to have some kind of defense, especially with pirates, which have been here before. Might be a good idea. So yeah, the Star Cruiser is firing down, destroying the city, killing people, and then it cuts to the title scene. And I love it when they cut it to this time, in the background, you've got kind of this like pirate type music going along with the Mandalorian music. So just kind of setting the vibe for the episode. And of course, it's showing the name of the chapter for the first time, The Pirates. So definitely relevant in the music that they were playing. Kind of gave you Pirates of the Caribbean vibes mixed in with Star Wars. All right, so after that, we jump to a rebel base, and we're at least figuring it's a rebel base at first because you see a Y-wing flying in and an X-wing flying out. There's like a hangar bay there, and then we go into the base, and you see the rebel pilots in gear, so their jumpsuits, orange and some blue. So definitely a rebel base. And then we go into this kind of bar area or like a recreational hall type place. They're playing like pool or some games and whatnot. And then we see New Republic Captain Carson Teva there, and he receives a message from Karga that Navarro is being attacked by raiders and pirates, and they need help immediately. And they're kind of given this vibe that they're unsure if they're able to help because I don't, at this point, I don't think Navarro was in the New Republic system. We find out that they aren't a part of the New Republic yet, but at the time I was watching, like, I don't think Navarro is part of the New Republic, so that might be part of the hesitation. But I kind of referenced this earlier on in our recording today, that there was going to be a cameo and we get a pilot that comes walking up, and we see that it's a Lasat. And to note, I don't think this is the first live action Lasat we've seen. I know there's been debate about in Rogue One, I think it was, that there's a scene where they're like in a bar area too, or something. And there's no, that might be on Jeddah actually. And there's like a Lasat type creature. It's unsure if that actually was a Lasat, but maybe not. But in this, it was clear. We have a Lasat and we have a purple Lasat. And you start wondering to yourself, what kind of Lasat would be fully immersed into the New Republic along with pilots? Maybe someone from the Ghost Crew? And then all of a sudden he speaks and you're like, oh my God, that is Zeb. We get Zeb in live action, and oh my gosh, did not only he look great, he looks spot on. They did great job with the CGI, going from like an animation Rebels to live action. Perfect job. No complaints by me. And it had to be voiced by the same voice actor because it sounded spot on too. And I was freaking out. You should see my notes here. I was like all caps, exclamation mark. I'm like, Zeb. I was like, oh, Zeb in action looks and sounds great. So I was definitely getting excited. And I definitely think that's a sign of things to come. If we've all been talking about the connection that this show or Ahsoka will have with Rebels, Sabine being Mandalorian. We've had Ahsoka. We're just waiting for that Ezra and Thrawn moment. Probably not until the Ahsoka show, but you never know. You might get a little cameo, but this was a teaser getting you ready for that and getting you pumped for that. It's just that little reminder, like, this is coming. This is going to happen. We still need a Harris and Dula cameo as well. Maybe we'll get that yet in this show. We have New Republic people, so you never know. So yeah, we get Zeb. Awesome. And then next we cut to Captain Teva. He flies to Coruscant in his X-Wing to the to one of the New Republic headquarter buildings. And G68 is kind of seen in the background. So Captain Teva is walking in, and there's like these desks, not quite cubicles, but desks in the background. And you see G68, also known as Elia Kane from the Empire. So she's been rescued or through that amnesty program, and she's there. Captain Teva tells, I don't know, I can't recall who that character's name is, but he's definitely like the manager or the overseer of this location, of these offices. Um, the actor, spacing on his name too, but yeah, we've seen that actor in quite a few things. Very well, prominent actor. I, I say that yet I can't even remember the name. Told you my memory's off a little today, so bear with me. So Tiva is telling this manager guy that the situation that is happening on Navarro. And they're the manager guy is kind of like hesitant to, he's like, all right, tell me about it. But it's like in the back of his head, he's thinking, we're not going to do anything. Like, this is out of our jurisdiction. Sorry. So they're having their talks. And then Kane, mentioned before, the former Imperial, comes walking in. And you can tell that she's trying to gain some intel or some insight of what's going on. Clearly, something major is happening, and she just kind of walks in like, "Oh, can I get you anything?" Whatever the person's name was, and that was just all a ploy just to get in there to kind of eavesdrop on the situation. So in this conversation, she tells she makes the proclamation that Navarro is not a part of the New Republic. So again, they're kind of going back and forth and like, I don't know, can we help him? And then she's like, well, actually, Navarro is not part of the New Republic, so we can't really help them out. This doesn't really look good for Navarro in terms of getting aid from the New Republic. Captain Tiva tells them that the situation on Navarro might be part of a grander, issue, a grander situation, probably playing a part with the rise of the Empire again. There's no hard concrete evidence in that, but there's been so many things going on that there's something here. And with everything that's happened with Gideon, which we find out later, not jump ahead, that he has escaped. So this all might be playing a part in the Empire coming back. And then in response, Kane is like, we shouldn't do anything. And maybe this is a good opportunity for Navarro to be like, oh, maybe we should join the New Republic. Because if we were part of the New Republic, then we would have gotten help. And Captain Tiva is like, oh, so we should, sacrifice them or give this message in the detriment of them. Captain Tiva's not about that. But again, it's not looking good. I don't think the New Republic at this point was going to do anything. So, and in this kind of exchange that we're seeing, and especially when that exchange ends, that conversation ends, you continue to get this like evil, bad music in the background whenever they're showing Elia Kane or G68. She's still fighting for the bad side. You can tell she is still kind of an Imperial, whether she's a mole, what have you, and all evident from what happens here too. So then we jump back to Navarro, and Grief is kind of escorting his people to safety. They're kind of in the outskirts, of the city, well beyond a reach of, the pirates, and the cruiser is far away over the city. So for now, they're safe. And Grief is like, we'll set camp here. We'll wait it out. There will be help on the way. It's just a matter of time. And I would assume, we're only seeing this group, and it's a very small group. We think back to the city that we saw lively, and it's, boomed, and it's huge. And now we've got like a group of 30 people, maybe, bunch of different species, aliens. I would have to think that there's other pockets of civilians of Navarro or citizens of Navarro that kind of fled, but this is just a group that's with Grief Karga. So like I said, he says that help should be on the way. It's really just a matter of time. And then we jump back to Captain Tiva, and now he's flying his X-wing to a new system, and this is where the Children of the Watch are stationed. So where we last left them in the, the cavern tunnel, or not a desert planet, but almost like a Grand Canyon type of a location. And he's flying overhead and he's kind of searching for where the Mandalorians are, and he spots Bo's ship and he's like, found you. And he kind of flies the ship and lands it next to hers. He goes to the mouth of the cave where we've seen the Mandalorians before, where they've trained, and that turtle crocodile creature came and attacked them. So it's that same spot. That's kind of where he goes to, and he starts calling out to the Mandalorians. He knows they're there, and that Grief Karga needs their help. And it's Taz Vizsla, or not Taz, Paz Vizsla. Why did I say Taz? I'm thinking of Tasmanian Devil in my mind, maybe. I don't know. Paz Vizsla yells out and says that the captain should leave. He isn't welcomed in these parts, so get out of here. And then you see a bunch of other Mandos come out along with Paz, and then Din's with them, and they start talking to the captain, and captain's like, he says he has to be. He says he has a right to be there, because there's one amongst them that is part of the Republic, and you're like, wait a minute. Who in this Mandalorian group is part of the Republic? Is there like a mole in there? And you even see the Mandalorians like looking around like, who? Someone from the Republic is here? And maybe people would think like Din, because he's helped them out. Nope, it's R5. So R5 kind of comes strolling out, beep 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 beep, and then you see the captain kind of give him a nod to be like, hey, R5, because if you remember, R5 is Republic property, and that is canon. And where we get that from is if you go all the way back to A New Hope. So that's the first time we really see R5, and it's when the Jawas bring their sandcrawler to the Lars farmstead, their moisture farm, and they've got all the droids lined up, and they actually Owen chooses R5 and C-3PO to excuse me, as their choice of droids to purchase, and R5 comes strolling out, and then his motivator blows, and what's going on here? And Luke goes up, hey, this one's got a bad motivator, and they end up not buying that one. Instead they get R2D2. Well, in canon, as I mentioned, it is said that R2D2, within the sand crawler leading up to the point where they were being sold at the Lars homestead, did a little tinkering in R5, because R5 was a Republic astromech droid before falling into the situation. And R2D2 essentially sacrificed R5 for his motivator to blow, knowing that they would choose R5 over R2D2. So he set that his motivator would blow, so they wouldn't buy him and buy R2 instead. And all of this being done for the sake of the Republic, for the rebellion, because they needed R2 to get purchased so that he could go and get his plans to Ben Kenobi or Obi-Wan Kenobi. And the rest is history from A New Hope. So we all know how that story goes. But just kind of going back, R5 was recognized by R2D2 because he was part of the Republic, and he is a Republic astromech droid that is now in the hands of the Mandalorian. So that's the New Republic individual or property that the captain was referring to here. So the captain then tells Din that Grief Karga has a message for him, and that him and Navarro are in danger. And he talks about how he feels that Din should know. He's not telling him to do anything, but that he feels that he should know, and kind of give him a nudge, like, we can't do anything on our end. I've tried. So uh, telling you, I feel like you're going to go help. So he says that he feels that the attack seems to be part of the Empire returning, and the captain gives him the message puck and says he won't reveal, or he kind of tells the whole Mandalorian group, like, or the Children of the Watch, that, we're nothing needs to go down here. I'm not going to tell anyone about your location. So I'm just relaying a message, essentially. So very interesting how that played out. I wonder what kind of interactions we're going to get with the New Republic and Mandalorians. So, like, to that point, I just kind of want to go back a little bit. And when I was talking about the exchange of the captain and that manager guy, and Kane talking about, or the captain asking for the New Republic to get involved in this situation, I think it's very fascinating, and I think they keep playing into this very well, that in many ways the New Republic is not that much different from the Empire from a certain point of view. They, like, the right thing to do would be the New Republic to help, but they don't seem all too eager. And it's like, whenever you have a group or a government in power, especially a large governing group, Star Wars has a tendency to not shine good light on that. So as the New Republic has grown and grown power, they do some shady things as well, and they're not always willing to help if it doesn't benefit them. So, to the point of Kane, like, maybe it's a benefit to the New Republic if they do get attacked, because then they'll be like, oh, we should join the New Republic and get their aid when we need it. So then after that exchange, the captain flies off, and then we see Din addressing the Children of the Watch and talking about his friend Grief, and is asking them to help that situation, help Navarro, and help the High Magistrate Karga. He says that he's not asking for help, but he is. Why else are you kind of giving this, like, speech to the group? Why are you going to be like, oh, this is who this is, but we're not going to do anything. So he's asking for help without asking for help, but said he would be grateful for it. So he tells them that the same people involved with this might be the Empire, and if they recall, the Empire is what destroyed the Mandalorians' home, so destroyed Mandalore and kind of, put them where they are today, and they don't have a home. So going after these pirates or these attackers might be, a sense of revenge against the Empire. He gives this kind of rally speech, and then he kind of apparently, so what I've noticed from this is the armorer handed him, well, he didn't hand him, he was holding the forge hammer, and as he's holding this, he's being able to talk. So it's like it's a talking piece. If you hold the forge hammer of the armor, you have the right to speak to the group. And he kind of takes it and he hands it over to the armorer, and he's done with his speech. Then the kind of armor comes in and asks if anyone else would like to speak. And then Paz Vizsla stands up and he's like, I would like to talk. I have something to say. And he starts talking about the fight against Grief Karga on Navarro. So if you recall from season 1, Din gets rescued by the Children of the Watch, including Paz Vizsla and some other Mandos, in the effort of trying to rescue Grogu. So he's kind of talking about this time, like, it's like, I remember when we were attacking Navarro and Grief Karga when they were enemies. And now you're asking us to go and help these people? He says, why should they lay their lives down again to help them? Why? And then he kind of flips a 180 and he says, because we're Mandalorians. He says that Din helped save his child, And Bo didn't run away. She helped the cause as well to retrieve the child. And remember in the previous episode and previous chapter, that pterodactyl thing that came and took Ragnar Vizsla. So Paz Vizsla says he'll help them out because they helped him, and this is the way. So you kind of get the sense that, okay, here we go. The Mandalorians are going to help in this situation. So right away, you cut to Bo's kind of giving a pep talk to some of the Mandos. They're right by her ship. She's talking that she'll ship them out, and kind of going over the battle plans. And then you see them start flying towards Navarro. They're going through hyperspace in Bo's ship. And she's kind of talking through more of the plans of what they're going to do. And Din's starship, his N1 Naboo starfighter, is there. Din and Grogu are in that ship, and Bo and all the rest of the Mandalorians, including Paz, are in her ship. And then you see them arrive at the Navarro system. So we cut to the city of Navarro, and pirates are kind of controlling the destroyed city. They're drinking and celebrating, pirates being pirate stuff. There's this one like server who brings like a pizza flatbread looking thing on a tray, and he gets like pushed, and the flatbread falls to the ground. And so they're just being rambunctious and disrespectful and everything. And then while they're out there, they see Din's N1 starship just kind of flying overhead, and you see it fly towards the captain's ship. So Shard, I think it was Gorian Shard, his ship, the Star Cruiser. And then we cut scene into the Star Cruiser. We've got so we've got a little like minion aid guy to the pirate captain, and all I could think of when I saw this was Smee from Peter Pan. So Captain Hook's like right hand man, like person number 2. It's like the Star Wars Smee, essentially. I thought that was pretty funny. So Din starts engaging the cruiser, and he's shooting at the turrets. The pirates, they launch their starships, and they start dogfighting with Din. Din's like destroying some of them. And then you see Grief, he calls into Din in a starship and essentially thanks him. He's like, he appreciates the help that they're getting. But he's like, you're outnumbered like 10-1. And then says, I like those odds. So kind of reminds me of like a Han Solo moment, like, don't tell me the odds, but here's Din's like, I like the odds. So then they're fighting and attacking. I'm trying to remember at this point, does Din might have taken the ships away? No. They're still engaging. That's later. Sorry. So they're dogfighting, and Bo flies in and drops down the first team of Mandalorians into the city. So drop them in, and they start engaging within the town. You cut to a little scene with some more Anzelians. I think that Anzelians, one or the other. So the Babu Frick creatures. So they're there, and they're kind of like at the window. Oh, come check this out. What's going on? Love those creatures. We need more of them. And I have to say, and this is more of a call out to Children of the Watch podcast. If you don't listen to them, check them out, especially if you're Mandalorian fans. That's their focus. They do such a great job over there. And they made a very interesting point in one of their recent episodes talking about, there's going to be some point, at least in their minds, that IG 11 is going to be brought back still, that part is still going to be searched for, because why bring in the Anzelans and all those things if, a flip of a switch with Pelimoto, he takes R5. I think they're right. I think they're still going to, or is it IG-80 or whatever, the IG droid is probably going to make a reappearance at some point still. They'll probably still try and get that part. But anyways, Meanwhile, Din keeps taking down some of the pirate ships. Here's where he draws away the ships towards like a canyon, taking them away from the Star Cruiser. And Din kind of calls that in, and Bo is now in the clear to make her run. So she starts engaging the pirate cruiser. The pirates realize what's going on. They call back the starships, being like, they didn't say Din. They said the N1 ship is just a diversion. There's another way of attack that's happening at the cruiser. So they start flying back. And back in the city, the Mandos get boxed in the ground attack. And Paz, when all things are grim, Paz drops down with his big, like, heavy machinery gun and starts mowing down some of the pirates. They kind of retake the advantage in the situation, and start advancing again. Meanwhile, the pirates are setting up this bigger gun up on the high ground. And with that, they start taking down some of the Mandos. So the battle continues. And then let's see. And meanwhile, the starfighters, they arrive back at the cruiser and start going after Bo's ship. Din swoops in and start, so all out war here. Bo and Din are fighting the starships and the cruiser. The Mandos are back in the city. They're now getting mauled down by this heavy gun. And then the armorer comes in. So you see her kind of sneaking up behind the pirates up in the high ground building where the big gun is. And she has her hammer and she just starts taking out pirate and clears out the room and essentially saves all the other Mandalorians. So then they all start advancing again. Eventually, the pirates essentially surrender, and they don't surrender, they start fleeing. So you see them running out of the city, going towards the entrance. And as they get to the entrance, they're stopped by the citizens of Navarro, who are making their way back to town, and they have guns drawn. And now the pirates are trapped. So they've got Mandalorians on one side, the citizens of Navarro on the other. So, and with defeat imminent, the cruiser, it's like, there's no way, we're down to our last engine. We got to leave or we're all screwed. All the starships are gone except for one, which is the same main sidekick guy that we saw a couple chapters ago, who was initiating the fight at the bar. He flees, and the pirate captain calls him a coward, and they decide they're going to flee. I thought they were leaning towards fleeing, but then you see them, they start attacking the city again. So in a last-ditch effort, they're kind of firing their cannons upon the city, going after the actual citizens. And Din and Bo kind of figure this out. They're like, okay, well, we have to go take out that last engine before it takes out all the people. And they are successful in destroying that last engine. And then the ship comes crashing down. So again, how we were talking about, these pirates are going to play a role in the skeleton crew. At least that's the thought. I guess if it's these actual pirates, that show would have to predate what's happening here, because I think they're dead. At least Gorian Shard, the captain, went down with the ship and is gone. So maybe that other pirate guy who fled in the starship, maybe he's still around. And if Skeleton Crew does take place afterwards, maybe it's more with that guy. So with the battle now complete, the High Magistrate Grief addresses the citizens and the Mandalorians and thanks them for their aid. And he says, in return, I give you, meaning the Mandalorians, this large plot of land. He designates from one location to another, but essentially it's a large plot of land that they can use to call home. And he says that they may not have a home planet anymore, but they have a home in Navarro. So everyone celebrates, and, very joyous moment. And it's huge. I mean, again, they were kind of home here before, more in the undergrounds. Excuse me. Because remember, there is that forge there that the armor used. And I mean, the city has changed a lot since then, but they had resided here before, but they are welcome back essentially. But you know the Mandalorians. They want a place of their own. They want their home planet back. And we'll get to that here in a second. So as this celebration is taking place, Paz Vizsla walks over to Bo-Katan and he's like, the armor wishes to speak with you. So he kind of takes her and escorts her, Bo, to the armor, where she's at that forge that I was just speaking of. And the armor talks about the forge's history, things that we already know, things that probably Bo-Katan already knows. And then she asks Bo to remove her helmet. And she says, out of respect to me, remove your helmet. Because, Bo's probably like, well, you can see her kind of tilt her head like, wait a minute. I was just not redeemed, but just accepted in because of she walked in the, the waters of Mandalore. So she's part of their group. So she's kind of hesitant because is this a trick question type of situation? But when she talked about out of respect to the armor, that's kind of when Bo was like, okay, I'll comply. So she kind of slowly takes her helmet off. And then it was really neat where, she stands in a very proud manner when she takes off her helmet. And I think that's important because I think she's recognizing who she is as well. Like out of respect of the people she's with, she was kind of like playing along, but who she is and her people, like they don't worry about the helmet portion. Like they can take off their helmets. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So after Bo removes her helmet, the armor says that they've gone astray from the way, and it is not to be walked by few. And when she says they, she's talking about all Mandalorians. At least that was my interpretation of it. So when they said Mandalorians have walked astray, they've all walked astray. They have different creeds now. They've got the Children of the Watch. You have like Night Owls. You've got all these different groups, but they're all Mandalorians. And when she says walk by few, when you're in groups, when you're separating, you're walking in fewer groups instead of one united people. So she says they must walk it together. They must walk the way together, all Mandalorians. So she's saying like, we got to change things. We got to get back to who we are, or who we are, or who they were, which is Mandalorians. And she says, this is the way. And then Bo says she understands, and the armor talks about how she was taught by the mythosaur, or she was taught that the mythosaur only existed in legend. And now she recognizes that Bo, or believes that Bo actually did see it. And I think it's from the events that have transpired too. I think that plays a part. Like it's almost well, maybe that you could use the term like, this is the way. Like this is what, because of how events have been unraveling, it's like, this is the destiny. This is what's supposed to happen. So she maybe did see the mythosaur. So the armor states that she is the one, meaning Bo. Bo is the one who has walked both paths. And because of that, she's the one that must unite them. So essentially, the armor is dubbing the responsibility, or giving the responsibility of uniting Mandalore to Bo-Katan. And I mean, you could see in Bo's eyes, like, yeah, this is what I always wanted. Like, again, she's got this proud look on herself, like, oh, this was meant for me. And now those events are transpiring, So, and I told you, or at least my opinion before was that she still wants to rule Mandalore. We saw her kind of sulking on her throne, kind of lounging, being all emo, like, oh, I don't want to rule anymore. I'm done. Like, just leave me alone, Din, all these things. In the back of my head, I could tell like she still wants to, if she didn't care, she wouldn't be sulking. She's sulking because she really wanted it and she can't get it. And now she's just pouting. So, I mean, that's putting it, you know, elementarily, but she wants this back. And now this is her opportunity. So she's going to take it. So after that scene, the armor, Vizsla and Bo, they go back to where the Mandalorians all are grouped together, which is by Bo's ship. And the armor says that Bo must head off to gather more Mandalorians. So she's going to go recruit, or not necessarily recruit, but like spread the word that Mandalorians need to unite. And she's going to be the example of this because she's walked multiple paths. As the armor says, it is time to retake Mandalore. And again, I have in all caps an exclamation mark. I knew she wanted Mandalore back, and here's her opportunity. So then we cut. That was kind of the end of the Mandalorian stuff that we got in this episode. So now we cut to Captain Teva again in his X-Wing. And he's kind of slow cruising, and you see this kind of destruction in front of him. And he comes across a broken down Lambda shuttle. I was kind of freaking out and geeking out at this point. I was wrong in my instinct, but I was like, is this something to do with Thrawn? Is this Thrawn? You kind of have this like grim music in the background, and I'll get to another reason why I was thinking that. But so he shines a light on the destruction. He calls it in, and it asks if there's any reports in the area. And there's like this communication guy on the other end, and he says, there are reports of a missing craft in that region, but the details are classified. I'm like, ooh, classified. Could it be Thrawn? Is it something with Thrawn? And I think just the whole Zeb thing was getting me too far ahead of myself. Like, I should have known like what it's going to be. But so the Captain Teva, he launches this probe droid. It's like the camera portion of like the astromech droid. If you remember in Return of the Jedi, when R2's in the water and this thing pops out and it's kind of like navigating, it's that piece that's kind of like a probe, I guess. So it launches that to investigate the destruction. Recordings are being done, and they're being sent to that communications guy. And he says, the communications guy says it's a New Republic prison transport. The light shines on like killed Republic troops, and this is when I was like, okay, so it's not Thrawn. It's probably Gideon. And the communication guy says this is a ship transporting Moff Gideon. No survivors and no signs of Gideon, Captain Teva says. So he makes a proclamation that this was an extraction just because of what he sees. No Gideon, everyone else is dead. Someone came to get Moff Gideon. The captain then notices that something is embedded on the cabin wall, and the captain asks what it is, and he says it's a fragment of Beskar alloy. So then he starts pondering a little bit, and he's like, does this mean that Gideon was taken by Mandalorians? And then the episode cuts out. So lots to ponder there. So the question is, was Moff Gideon taken by Mandalorians? Hard to say. I mean, obviously there's more groups of Mandalorians out there. We have Bo-Katan being sent out to kind of recruit or unite other groups of Mandalorians. So, and we know that Sabine Wren is out there somewhere too, who is also Mandalorian. So was Moff Gideon taken by Mandalorians? Maybe. Was it meant to look like that? Maybe. We'll have to find out. So that's where we are. I was very happy with this episode. It was, and thank you for being longer. I think it was like 45 minutes long or something like that. No more of these 32-minute ones, please. That was That was tough. Also, shout out to Whisper. Thanks for your comment out here. He says, in the Obi-Wan series, does his encounter with Vader diminish their fight and dialogue in A New Hope? That indicates that they haven't met since episode 3. So a little off topic there, but something we can ponder. So let me think about this. In Obi-Wan series, does his encounter, I don't think it diminishes at all. I think it can be interpreted that way, but as Obi-Wan Kenobi says, from a certain point of view. So from a certain point of view, it can diminish it, but I think it can also bring more meaning to it. I think that a lot of things that were done in Obi-Wan Kenobi's show were to, I won't say retcon, but kind of tie up some loose ends. And I liked many of the things that they did. I think it brought a lot of meaning to that exchange, or the message that Princess Leia sent to Obi-Wan Kenobi. You have more meaning there. You have meaning that Leia has met Kenobi. And I think that brings more power to that relationship that Leia and Obi-Wan Kenobi have in the original trilogy. So did it diminish? I mean, it can in some way, because you were led to believe that Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker or Darth Vader haven't seen each other since Revenge of the Sith. But everything that they said too in the Kenobi series can be held true. And I loved that scene where Darth Vader or Anakin Skywalker, whoever you want to interpret at that time, is talking with Kenobi and kind of almost releases the weight off of Kenobi's shoulder when he's talking about you didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. And I love the visual effects they have in that point, because the blue saber, Anakin's saber, I mean, it's Kenobi's saber, but the Jedi colored saber is reflecting on Anakin's face when they're talking about that Obi-Wan didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. So kind of giving Kenobi peace there. And then it switches to red from Vader's saber, and he's like, I killed Anakin Skywalker. So that holds true in A New Hope when Kenobi tells Luke that your father was killed by Darth Vader, who was a pupil of his. So, I mean, it almost strengthens everything as well in the dialogue that happens in the Kenobi series. So, good question. Thank you for bringing that. If you've got anything following up on that, let me know. Sorry I didn't see it till now. If I was not by myself, I would have more eyes on our messaging, on our chat as well. But I appreciate it, Whisper. So yeah, I will kind of have that to close out our Mandalorian kind of breakdown, because of where we're at. I won't go into Bad Batch, but a lot of good stuff from these past 2 episodes, and 4 out of the last 5 episodes were absolutely fantastic, and I can't wait to go back and rewatch them. Except I will be heartbroken again when I go watch the most recent episode. Many thoughts of where we're going with this. And I will say, and what I will get into is, and led evidence from today's Mandalorian episode too. Or wait, no, I'm crossing episodes. This was the end of the Bad Batch episode, that we're getting into the cloning of Palpatine. We're getting into that. And we're not that far off. And very fascinating. Again, spoilers for Bad Batch 2, season 2, last 2 episodes if you haven't watched it. Fascinating that scientist person is Omega's sister. And it's kind of interesting. It's like the female version of Tech. She very much resembles Tech, like same mannerisms. She's always wearing those goggle things. So in my opinion, this person's going to kind of, I'm not going to say take the place. It doesn't take the place of Tech, but supposed to be some resemblance to Tech. And I feel like she might see a little bit of Tech in her, because if she's the sister, then she's probably a clone, unless some other DNA was also used in creating Omega outside of just Jango Fett's DNA. So a lot to find out in this, but like I said, we're getting into cloning. Oh yeah, we've got into cloning in Mandalorian, with the whole G68 and Dr. Parshing stuff. Like, we're getting there, and that's going to be at the head probably of where these shows are coming to. So fascinated to see. We only have 3 episodes left of season 3 of The Mandalorian. We're done with Bad Batch. So, but we have more to come. We've got a lot of stuff in the future, and I can't wait to get into all that content. And it sounds like Favreau wants at least 5 seasons of The Mandalorian. So we got a lot of stuff left to get into. Looking forward to it. But I will wrap that up for today. I should probably talk about our bracket challenge. So one of them ended in a tie. So I'm going to let it run a little bit long, because we have to have a winner. I can't end in a tie. So this is essentially overtime for it. We did have one winner though. So the matchup 13, which was Lego Star Wars, so the 4 seed versus the 29 seed Star Wars Episode 1 game. Lego Star Wars won that battle. So Lego Star Wars will move on. Britton here says, do I dare comment how many hours I spent on the very original Lego Star Wars? I accomplished 100% completion. Wow, that is very impressive. That's dedication right there. Well done, Britton. Then he says, now I've only played the original and the compilation of the OG trilogy with the prequels. I still find them replayable. So his vote would go to Lego Star Wars, and his vote is for the winner, as that will move on. So matchup 14, which was 13 seed Star Wars Shadows of the Empire versus the 20 seed Star Wars Rebel Assault, is what ended in a tie. So we're going to keep those rolling. We're going to have that roll into next week's episode on our podcast. So we'll have 3 results next week. And the new matchups for that week is matchup number 15, which is the 5 seed Star Wars Force Unleashed series. So again, both Force Unleashed games are included within this matchup, and that will be going up against the 28 seed Star Wars arcade game. So this is that old school at the arcades, the arcade game, the original trilogy stuff. Good fun game if you haven't played it. And then matchup 16, which is the 12 seed Star Wars Racer series. So all of the games that fall under the Racer umbrella, and that does include Episode 1 Pod Racers. So remember that. And that will be going up, or those will be going up against the 21 seed Star Wars Clone Wars Republic Heroes. So we will put our polls out there. Bring us your opinions, bring us your thoughts, and bring us your votes. And hopefully we don't get another tie. So we'll get 3 results in next week's episode. But just to call out all of our social media handles, you can find us on Twitter at DetBlockAA23pod, on Instagram at detention_block_AA_23, and then our Facebook group and YouTube channels called Detention Block AA23, a Star Wars podcast. Bring us your follows, your likes, downloads, subscriptions, comments,
and reviews especially. Reviews go a long way for us. So if you could, send us a review on Apple Podcast, on Spotify, any or all of those, let us know what you think. And hopefully 5 stars goes a long way in getting our podcast out there to listeners and to people who haven't discovered our podcast yet. So if you want to help us out, you can help us out by giving us a good review like that. So, and with that, I will close out. I will give one last look over at our chat and see that we're all caught up. So, thanks for listening in today. Just me. Apologize, the other guys couldn't make it, but so much that I wanted to talk about with, seeing 3 great episodes today. I had to jump on. Couldn't skip today. So, thanks for joining me tonight. Hope you have a great rest of your evening, rest of your day, rest of your week. And looking forward to getting more Mandalorian content next week, getting more book content read. I'm still working through the second book of the second Thrawn trilogy. So Thrawn Alliances. It's a great book. I'm so stoked about the end of this book. But till then, we will see you guys next week. And as always, may the Force be with you.